Right, Kirsty, we'll get into it. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Y.E.N podcast, where I bring on a series of guests from professional athletes to professional gamers to Y.E.N members to entrepreneurs, and I basically ask them a series of questions to bring out the best in them, and for the audience to gather as much information as possible on this guest. So today we've got Blair Collie. Do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, Blair?
Hello everyone, my name is Blair. I'm a property investor. I'm 20 years old and I buy and sell houses basically.
Buy and sell houses. So if you clicked on this video, you probably would have seen the title, which is 20-year-old property investor that has secured 400 grand in property investment. Now Blair likes to talk himself down as if he's not done much in it, or like he doesn't do much regularly, whatever it may be. He's just at it. He is just at it. Don't let him fool you. He is. Yeah, you're one of the most inspirational people I know, mate, at the age that you're at. So
Thank you.
fuck all that part talking down. I'm not about it, mate, to be fair. So based on the question I'm going to ask you, obviously, mate, it's just going to be a series of personal, business, weird and wacky. It's just going to be basically bring out the best in you. So based on just your genuine journey and how you got to where you are today, do you want to give the viewers a little bit of a rundown?
Yeah, absolutely. I started, I was at school, I always wanted to be a joiner, and that was my kind of big goal in life. I wanted to get my joining apprenticeship, get that under my belt, and then actually come back into business and work for my dad because he'd left oil and gas 6.5 years ago to go into property, and I wanted to help fit kitchens, fit houses, and I thought that'd be great. We get on so well, so why not use my skills to help the business and grow that an aspect until I got my first joining apprenticeship. I left school at 16 and I was physically assaulted and had a nail gun put in my face. So that kind of put a damper on things a wee bit. I wasn't totally out of it. I still wanted to continue with joinery and I thought, well, I'm still passionate about it, so why not? So I went back to college. Well, I actually went to college first time, sorry. And I did a year of joinery. I passed that. I think I was just passed. It was a straight pass or fail, so I just passed the course, and I got another apprenticeship with an even smaller firm this time. And I was there for about 3 weeks, and the guy just turned around and was like, "I don't really like you, so cheerio." And that's kind of where me and joinery kind of fell apart. I kind of got to the point where, why am I doing this shit if it's not working? And I started helping dad with renovations in the houses, so I was under the floors because me at 16, I'm only 5'7" at the moment, but I was even smaller then. So I was put under the floors, running pipes, cables, helping all out the refurb. Obviously, only the bits I could do. I couldn't really do the major things and fit kitchens because obviously I hadn't learned how to do that. But I enjoyed that, and I started to learn more about the actual buying of the properties, surveying the properties, valuing the properties, what the refurb would cost, and over that 6 years, I built up a little bit of knowledge, and it kept growing and growing. And I realized after the joiner didn't go too well, why not just come into business with my dad and just do that because I enjoyed it and I can see it was going to be a great business model for our future.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, I can't pay you," and I was like, "Well, I'm not really bothered because I'm going to learn a lot more not getting paid and helping grow the business than taking money out of the business, and the business kind of doesn't go anywhere."
Yeah.
So 2.5 years ago, full time, and I only started getting paid end of last year, and it's not even much. I only get a few £100 a month, but I'm doing what I enjoy and growing the business, and the business opportunities we've had over the last couple of years have been pretty phenomenal. And it's not all of them have come to fruition just yet, but there's a lot in the pipeline and a lot of different strategies, not just in property but in business in general, that I know will change my future. And it's kind of looking back on it, I'm kind of glad those kind of shit things that's happened with me in my journey, because if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here today and knowing where I'm going in the future. I'd have just been a joiner. And not knocking that on anyone. That's in everyone's life choices and styles, what they want to do. But sitting here going, well, if I'd kept being a joiner, I'd have been a joiner for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't have got to do any things I've got up on my vision board behind me. I've got some big places I want to go and see, do cars I want to have, houses I would like to own. that I would never had if it was just a normal joiner.
Yeah.
So I'm quite fortunate and lucky that the shit things did happen because it's kind of changed me,
Yeah.
but for the better, not for the worse. Because a lot of people around me said, "Well, Jesus, you should kind of be somewhat depressed in the shit that happened." But I don't know. It's just kind of I didn't kind of get to that point. I just kind of sat there and went, "Well, fuck it. If that's the worst that's happened, let's kind of go on and see what else is out there."
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I think based on, I mean, where you are now, I'm sure like your younger self would be, excited about the future if they were to look at, if you was to look at you now and where you are. And funny enough, when we first discussed about the whole joining thing and stuff like that, I was the same, not to the nature in which you went through or nothing like that. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a joiner, but it was mainly because obviously the way in which we think, obviously it's just through our Bible programming, of course. So that was like my dad's thing. It was like, get a trade and then you'll have jobs for life.
Yeah,
That was like his whole motto.
exactly.
And I was like, obviously that's the way in which that was programmed to think. And then when I met my close mate Scott, which I'm sure I've covered in one of the other episodes, but when he started to give me an insight into how he thought, I started to question why he thought so differently to me, which then led me to pretty much where I am today. But I went through numerous interviews. Actually, a guy called my stream, funnily enough, Declan, that I used to play Destiny with back when I was 16, 17. And I remember I messaged him and I was like, I wasn't begging him, but I was like, mate, because he was a joiner, I was like, please tell me you could help me in some sort of way, get a joining apprenticeship or something I could help you with, all that kind of stuff. And he was like, mate, you don't want to be a joiner. And I was like, but you're doing it. And he was like, I know, but like the hours are nuts. I'm up at 5. Yeah. I'm at a job at 6 and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, mate, I'd do it. Like, I'd do it. And he was like, mate, I'm telling you, like, if anything comes up, I'll give you a shout. But I'm telling you, you don't really want this. And I was like, at the time, I was still my mum, and she was like, well, at least you've asked. And at that time, my mum was working as well, so she hadn't had started her business either. So she was kind of like, she was still in her mindset of an employee as well, that she didn't really know any, she didn't know any better. Which is why, one of the reasons why I'm built Y.E.N and I made it open to aspiring entrepreneurs as well, because people just don't know any better. They don't know they can be a business owner. And I think you can surely agree with this as well, that I mean, in terms of this last year or so, it's the most creative I've ever been. It's probably the most fulfilled I've ever felt as well. And when you're doing something, you're building something yourself, you're steering the ship. Yes, you're liable for all risks, but you're also, you get all the rewards, bro. And there's nothing more rewarding, mate. For example, meeting yourself, mate. When you're the one of the first meetings I had with Blair, by the way, he told me that he didn't want to join Y.E.N and he didn't want to be a part of it. And I remember I was like that too. I was like, why? And he was like, I've just got such a wide network of property people. I've got access to, multi-millionaires in property. Like, my network is perfect, like, pretty much. And then we came to the realization that it wasn't so perfect per se. And since then, mate, we've pretty much worked together. I mean, we spoke pretty much every day, mate, for like the last 5 months, mate. It's been nuts, mate. You've helped me out with pretty much everything to do with Y.E.N, mate. Which I'm very thankful for.
No, it's my pleasure. I can see it's going places, and I enjoy doing it. I get to meet wonderful people like yourself and every other young entrepreneur and the experienced entrepreneurs that I never got to meet through property.
Yep.
That, like you said, I thought my network was pretty good, but I've come to the realization that it can always be better. And even just a little startup group, where it leads to is you never know. So
that's it, mate. Bang on. Yeah, you never know. And that's the whole aspect, probably from Paula, that I learned, mate, to be fair, that even if someone, they could be in a completely different field, they could be a competitor, they could be, it doesn't really matter, mate, but it's all down to who they know. And it's not just them as an individual as well, man. And when you've got such a big sphere, like, anything is possible, mate. And it just kind of brings out the best, mate. So if I was to ask you, what's one area that is outside your profession right now that you would like to get into? Well, let's talk about property, mate, but like, what would be something juicy that you'd love to get into?
I haven't really thought about that, to be fair.
Yeah.
There's something that we're doing at the moment which I don't think I can disclose to like the wider audience, that is completely out of property, and the returns on that and the opportunities seem to make property look small.
Yeah.
And we never thought that. So we're progressing with that more, and we're having more phone calls and looking through a proposal from that business opportunity. But in terms of that, I haven't really thought about anything out with property because it's got such a wide vary of different strategies. It's not just buy and sell and rent out.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can rent to SA, which Pillow do. The service accommodation market from the staycation has just gone absolutely crazy
Yeah.
since we've all been allowed to get out of our houses, etc. But then there's obviously commercial conversions. There's so many different areas that we can't use at the moment because we don't have the capital to go in and get the building and then renovate it, and we just don't have the contacts in those kind of fields because we've
Yeah.
got contacts in normal rental, normal selling, and we've got a few in the service accommodation market, but we don't have that many in commercial. We do. Our mentor is quite big in commercial, but we're starting to learn more about that, but we don't want to throw ourselves in because we always got told lose your shirt on the small things.
Yep.
If you lose money on a 30-40k property, yes, it's bad, but it's not as bad as going and buying a 500k commercial building and going, ah, shit, I've lost all my money.
Yep.
So that's where we started. And yes, it's taken, my dad 6.5 years, and we're now progressing into that. But I'm kind of thankful we're not just rushed in because we could have lost everything.
Yep.
And without the knowledge he's built up, we couldn't have moved into this new house we're in and still have our old house for sale.
Yeah.
So the possibilities are really endless. But I genuinely haven't thought about anything out with property. Well, I'm in crypto.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. We've been doing that for a number of years. We missed out on a few big ones because obviously the market's so volatile, and what we're hearing in the media and from people we know in the industry, we kind of we better get out from at the moment
Yeah.
and wait for it to go down and come. But it went up and up and up, and we sold out early. So you win and lose,
These things
so
happen,
can't be
right?
too disheartened by it. So but if we stayed on, we made a lot of money, but we might have lost our heads with that because you could have gone, oh, that's a lot of money, and we'll keep going.
Yeah.
So you can go up, and then you can just lose everything. So we took money out. We're happy with that. We've reinvested into stuff that's not going anywhere at the moment because don't know if you know that Elon Musk kind of ruined everything when he spoke a few months ago. So Bitcoin, Shiba, everything just went through the floor. But thankfully, we bought a few coins at like minimal pennies, not even a pence.
Yeah.
So that's a back burner long game, and we know that we never bought in to have quick profit.
Yeah.
Because I had looked into trading like yourself, forex trading,
Mm.
but it was a lot more work and time and effort than I realized to go into that I
Yeah.
would take away from progressing with property and making sure that everything we're doing in property is 100% what we can do to our best. So, but other than that, it's between crypto, property, and this other business. I don't think I can. I'm not probably not allowed to say at the moment, which might annoy some of the viewers and
Nah, it's
listeners.
fine.
But
It's squishy.
yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable telling without saying too much.
Yeah. No, I think when it comes to like trading in stocks and forex and stuff like that, it's something that people kind of paint it as shit that you don't on property as well. Like, everything's kind of painted as this like like sunshine and rainbows, and that you can just invest and then just kick your feet up and then that's it, mate. But in terms of like probably meeting like my mum's boyfriend Craig, obviously he's traded pretty much I think from his late 20s, something around about then. He's around about 50 now, and he's a get rich slow kind of guy. It's everything's long term. All his investments are long term. You're looking at 10-15% as a win for the year. Those kind of investments. And when I sit with him, like obviously with it being get rich slow, it's very low risk, and there's no kind of any level of like volatility to an extent, because a lot of the like the funds, for example, will be very diverse in stocks, or like it'll be in all kind of different industries, and he was explaining that to me, and I thought it's obviously very smart. Of course it is, and it is just kind of get rich slow kind of gig. But for me, when I came into forex, obviously kind of like everyone gets scammed to begin with. They get baited in with this whole, you can make X amount, blah blah blah, even though it's not even fathomable. Like, you know, oh, okay, you can make 1,000% per month, right? Cool. So why is not everyone doing it then? Like, what am I hearing, mate? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think everyone kind of gets baited in it in some sort of way. But when me and Scott started trading and kind of got really really obsessed with it, mate, there was something about it that just grabbed me, man. When it was something about predicting a chart, mate, and tracking and seeing results and seeing progression. I think for me it's always been numbers. Even when I went to the gym, mate, when it came to like all my compound lists, it was always the numbers rising that I was obsessed with. It was the same with Forex. When my strike rate was rising, when everything was getting better, I was just obsessed with it. I loved it, man. But the main thing for me, I just didn't have the capital to invest to then see, because it's not just a invest and cut your feet up. It is a 24/7 kind of job. Like, and the rewards are phenomenal, of course they are, but in terms of if you want to do it properly, because the market's so volatile, it's not a it's just not a kind of invest and then walk away. It's just not that at all, mate. You need to be constantly on the ball with it. And for me, the whole was no capital, man. And then that's when I started looking at other avenues. I had the idea of Y.E.N for ages, absolutely ages. I think it was October 2019 was when I had it. The kind of light bulb moment. I can make this happen. I know all the pain points. I know what I would want. So I'm pretty sure most entrepreneurs would want something similar. And that was when things kind of started to change for me as well. But also off the back of that, nothing changes with Forex. Like, I've still got all the data that I tracked, all my back testing, all my live testing. It's all there. So when I pick it back up, because I've done so much tracking and so much groundwork and the foundation already built, when I pick it back up, mate, it's going to take me a little bit to get back into the swing of things, mate. But it's not going anywhere. The Forex market's not going anywhere either. So it's something that now I literally just fucking play video games and fucking work with high performers on a daily basis, mate. It's all nuts. It's all absolutely nuts, mate. I put up a post on LinkedIn today. For anyone watching as well, I do play in tournaments regularly. That's kind of the competitive aspect of COD and streaming and stuff like that. And we played a huge tournament last night, which was phenomenal. And probably the post I put up on LinkedIn today was all kind of about how competing just makes me feel so alive, mate. And I think until you go through a rough patch and you go through a shit patch where maybe you feel like you've got no purpose, you don't feel very fulfilled, that when you go through something where in that moment nothing else matters, you've got so much emotion involved, you're just fucking like, nothing else matters in that moment. When you come out of it, obviously if you lose, for example, we came third last night, and afterward the leaderboards came up and I was fucking livid, mate. I was absolutely livid. Nothing else mattered in that moment. The fact that we choked, the fact that we never won, even though we secured money, it was just like we could have got our names out there, we could have done this and this. It was a kind of, I was just raging, mate. And when I woke up this morning, sleep always sorts it for me. Well, 90% of the time it sorts it. When I woke up, I thought, fucking, I felt so alive last night. Like, even though I had a banging headache, I felt so fucking alive. And I was like just so grateful that it happened, mate. It's the fact that I'd get to do it regularly, mate, when I was just going to, like, I was going to join the apprenticeships and getting turned down, and nothing really suited me. School, I had nothing either, mate. School, I literally had higher PE, in which I only passed it because I was good at football. To get full marks in my one-off performance, so that was kind of the only reason I passed it, mate. And everything else, mate, like, to give you a rundown, guys, I literally done my 6th year. I had higher PE, refereeing, and sports leadership. That was my 3 subjects in 6th year. Like, what am I even doing there? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was so ridiculous, mate. So ridiculous, man. It was an experience, mate. That's for sure. But outside of your profession, there's nothing that entices you now.
Not that I can really think of that I just haven't thought about it. We're also involved with Utility Warehouse, that utilities company, that the company structure, the reward structure is phenomenal. For the past 3 months, because we've collected, I think it's 2 customers per month, we've been given like a food box. So last month was a Thai dinner for 2. This month was American barbecue box.
I love that, mate.
I can't remember the first one. So we have 3 different things that we purely just from gathering customers, which makes ourselves a little residual income. By all means, it's not a lot, but if you really put your time and effort in, you can make your whole company structure massive, and
Yeah.
you get create a massive passive income. But we're only bolting it onto the properties. We're not forcefully trying to push as much because it's not really our main, goal. But we're just getting stuff along the way, and to get little gifts like that is really cool. And we've had big boxes of chocolates and just little gifts that the company just rewards you with. But as you get up the ladders, the gifts your rewards you get access to are pretty phenomenal. You can qualify to, I think you can buy at a reduced price, some cars like an i8. You get electric scooters, you
Yeah.
get electric minis. There's so many different cool things attached to that we're happy to be involved with that company, and everyone's amazing in it. But we only make a small amount of money, but it's still another great asset and business kind of model to have.
Yeah, I love all those customer cuddles, mate. See all that part. See, once I learn about customer cuddles in general and like why Apple have
Yeah.
like the cost or the how much it actually costs to make an iPhone is obviously like bare minimum to them. You're talking no
Yeah.
more than a couple of hundred, but they're selling it for over $1,000, for example, and that high profit
Yeah.
margin allows them to give the best customer cuddles in the world, and while they're one of the biggest companies in the world. And I think when it comes to I think there was a fact that I learned. I think it was probably from one of the masterclass sessions that Steve Gasson. I don't remember who it was speaking at the time, but he was talking about how every Apple store trains their employees for 45 minutes before the store opens every single day. I don't know how true that is, but if that's the case, that's why the customer service
I remember being in that masterclass.
Was it
Yeah.
who was it? Something the guy Fleming in it? Is it Fleming?
I thought it was Sinclair.
Sinclair, that's it, mate. Yeah, James Sinclair. That's what it was. I always say James
Sinclair.
I
Yeah.
always nearly say James Fleming, mate, because the guy that fucking what did he create? Well, he created something. What was it, mate? Somebody let us know in the comments, mate. Or I'll just Google it there.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I can't remember.
it was probably just something nuts, mate. But like James Sinclair, he was telling us about it.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense, mate, because it's not, people aren't just investing for the product, they're investing for so much more. And I think that's why when it comes to Y.E.N, it's like I'm always trying to just do so much more with it and try and go above and beyond, because those customer cuddles and everything that you make happen, Paula has got those customer cuddles on lock, mate. My mum received 2 days ago a box that looked like a Gucci box, mate. The standard of it was like, it was like the High Performers Club. It had a bow on it.
Yeah.
Opened up the bow, it folded up. It was almost like a magnetic like hatch on there. Like it was nuts, mate. It was absolutely nuts. And I thought, like, you're just going above and beyond for your clients, mate, and that's what it's all about, man. So when you're just working with them, mate, regularly, I mean, we have the welcome packages. Welcome packages I'm very happy with, but in terms of when that box came through, mate, and Paula's box, I thought, fucking, I need to up my game, bro. That is fucking, what am I doing, mate? I mean, I was like, and the thing is, people don't do anything for their clients. Well, as soon as they're on board, they obviously, and I don't mean do anything extra for their clients in terms of like added value or whatever it may be. But for me, it was always something. When I had the custom trainers business, for example, with Scott and Emily, we were trying to figure out ways to do anything we could to give our customers like customer cuddles. Almost like we had little cards inside, we had stickers, we had this like thank you letter with like I think it was like a voucher on it or something along those lines, and our profit margins weren't high, mate. They weren't at all. Probably for like a company, if it was just one person running it, then the profit margin would be high. But because we were split between the three, the profit margin just wasn't really that much, mate. So we didn't understand that we were doing all this extra work when in reality we should have been trying to raise our value in the actual product so that the price can rise, so that we can make the customer cuddles to the standard we want to, which is a lesson that we learned, mate. By the customer cuddle aspect, that's great, mate. The fact Utility Warehouse does that's phenomenal, mate.
Yeah, they are. I don't think we've been involved in a company quite like this. They had a power up day, which was basically a massive training day for the whole company online, and every single partner that was attending the event, you got sent a box. You got it's like a colouring pad for your kids. You got crowns to wear. You got banners, you got flags, you got like a heap of stuff that costs a decent amount of money to then ship it to every single partner that qualified to get one.
Yep.
It was some stupid 1,000 partners that qualified, in thousands that qualified, and they just sent them a boxes.
Yep.
Every single one got a box, and the cost of that, to a company is massive, but they see the benefits in doing it because it makes everyone work harder.
Yeah.
And makes them appreciate the company more. So, yeah, customer colours are pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%, bro. So in terms of, I think this is going to be a question that's going to be quite juicy for you. What is, if you could pick 2 people from either the past or the present to come in and potentially mentor you, who would you choose? You say, mate.
Oh, yeah. I've got to say the first one's got to be Elon Musk.
You think so? Yeah.
Purely because of the way he's just done everything is, he's not liked by a lot of people, but people don't realize what he's gone through to get to being one of the richest people in the world.
Yeah.
And the fact is he just does everything out of the norm.
Yeah.
And keeps doing it and just keeps defying the haters and the people that say, oh, Elon's not going to do anything, or his rocket's not going to land. Like, the amount of people that missed the fact that he had a rocket that was effectively remote controlled that landed on its own.
Yeah.
But because it was Elon Musk, no one liked him.
Yeah.
And they just skipped over the fact that in itself is just amazing. Obviously, he wasn't. I don't know how involved he was in that in terms of the engineering, the designs, and everything. But the fact is, he's paving the way in space travel. The electric car market is Tesla's got that on lock, and just everything he's doing. The fact he came from just a normal guy in college, and he's now this amazing guy that just is changing the world is pretty cool. And getting coached by him would be something special.
Definitely.
And to learn why he thinks differently to everyone else. Obviously, myself and yourself and everyone in Y.E.N thinks differently to most normal people anyway, but he's thinking differently to every other entrepreneur on the planet.
Yeah.
And why he's doing that would be pretty cool to understand how and why he does it. And yeah, the second person,
just quickly on Elon,
really
on Elon, right? I've watched the Joe Rogan podcast with Elon, or both episodes. Every episode he's had with Elon, I've watched it and listened to it. I don't know how many times. It's one of my. If I'm going out my daily walks, it's usually like I usually put on that podcast or I put on the Naval Ravikant podcast. Because every time I listen to it, there's always a little golden nugget in there somewhere of how he thinks, and it just resonates with me in some sort of way. And one of them recently was about. And I'm pretty sure I spoke to it was either you or Andrew I spoke to about it, but it was about like he was talking about, I can't remember who it was exactly, but the number one rule of this philosopher was to never panic. Just don't panic. And he just started laughing because Joe Rogan said to me, it was like, for example, when the Roadster, when the window cracked, when it was meant to be bulletproof, what was your thought process? What did you think? And he was like, well, I just didn't panic, innit? And he was like, how did you not panic though? You've claimed that this Roadster is, bulletproof glass. Like, a bullet cannot go through it.
Oh, right, yeah, the Cybertruck.
Yeah, is it the Cybertruck? Yeah, not the Roadster. My bad.
Yeah, Cybertruck. The Roadster's the apparently unreleased one, not 60, 1.9 seconds. Right.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, the Cybertruck, the weird looking thing.
The thing that looks like it's out of a game, mate. Yeah. So when it cracked, mate. And Joe was like, well, why did it happen? He was like, well, that's what we just tried to figure out. We tried to figure out what was happening. It wasn't a matter of, oh, we've claimed that it's bulletproof and it's now shit the bed and nobody's going to buy it. There's no point in panicking about stuff like that. We just tried to think, okay, why has it happened? And they realised it was because they were sitting, they were testing it all throughout the day, the same window as well, all throughout the day. So they were walking up to it, they were smashing it with sledgehammers, smashing it. I think he was speaking about smashing it with an axe. They were fucking rocketing shit off it, and it was like Elon was like had almost like a rule that day for people to just walk up and just hit it. Just keep go up and keep hitting it. And it just so happened that on the one in which was everyone's seen,
it was broadcast.
It was broadcasted, and like his whole thought process. And that might just sound, to someone watching it like, what do you mean by don't panic? Like, how's that something that can resonate with you? But there's so much shit that we just freak out about in life that doesn't really matter, man. Like, the things that people get very angry, upset over, and using that whole like complex of 5 to like, you know, will it matter in 5 minutes, will it matter in 50 minutes, will it matter in 5 hours, will it matter in 5 days, all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of questions I ask myself when I'm sitting there and I'm freaking out and I'm like, you know, why the fuck's this happened to me, or why did I do this, or how can I solve this, or whatever it may be. Even that tournament last night, for example, at 5 hours time when I woke up this morning at 6, I felt fucking great, mate. Regardless of the fact that we came third, I felt phenomenal. And we get so caught up in our own emotion at times. So for me, when I heard that from Elon, it kind of resonated with me quite well, mate, to be fair.
Yeah, well, he actually got more sales out of that, and the exposure he got from that was infinitely more than he would ever have gotten if it had worked. The fact that it failed and the whole world was laughing at him in that sense.
Yeah.
Millions of people were like, I want one of them. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he got more sales through that, and they generated some stupid amount of money.
Yeah, it was nuts, mate. Have they started rolling out yet?
The boy, I don't know. I've never seen any.
Nah, neither.
Maybe I've just missed something, but I don't think I've ever seen any on the road, on like terms of like Instagram or anything that will show people driving any. But hopefully they'll be coming out soon, because a lot of people spent money on them. So.
Yeah, I know, nuts, mate. They genuinely like they're out of a game, mate. Out of a game, man.
It's. I first looked at them and went, the fuck's that? Like, but I suppose, you know, you got to be unique, and Elon's pretty much the king for being unique in that sense. So why not make it something stupidly looking and show the world what you can do in terms of technology?
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I think in terms of, so if we think about the second mentor, since he's from the present, is there anyone from the past that you think would be a phenomenal mentor?
Anyone from the past?
I've got mine already, but I've had my two for since the question came up. I think I've had it since I asked Andrew it. I think I asked Andrew similar question.
Okay. Right.
Matu's got to be. Matu's got to be, bro. Mate, it's got to be Kobe Bryant. His mentality, Mamba mentality, work ethic, brother. He would fucking. What an absolute pleasure it would be to work with him, bro. On a real, mate. And obviously it's sad how like it was in one of the songs, is it like the remorse when you check someone out in it? It's the remorse that makes you check someone out after they pass. I don't really know much about Kobe Bryant. I always see him everywhere in terms of social media and stuff like that, but I never looked into him until he passed and looked at his Mamba mentality and all that kind of stuff. And it was something that when the pessimist to optimist series I'm doing on Instagram, that one of the videos I watched every single day was the Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality motivation video, and it's about 11 minutes long, and I would stick it on every morning, mate, and literally it would just set me up differently, mate. And that's how I went those 250 days without a day off, and that's how even though I did run myself into the ground, it was like it was, I just didn't like I think when you look at someone like, for example, like LeBron James, I seen a statistic the other day that he spends over 1.5 million on his body a year annually to look after himself, so that he can work as hard as what he was, as hard as he is. And in terms of like me, for example, I was working those 250 days. I wasn't looking after myself at all. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't doing any exercise. I wasn't. I was barely even getting my daily reading in. I was literally just working myself into the ground, mate. And it's obviously they're doing it to a level that's obviously above and beyond, but they're also getting the treatment that's above and beyond to make sure that they don't run themselves into the ground. And that's some things that we forget, mate. So for Kobe Bryant from the past, bro, and then I think present, it's got to be Gary V, I think, mate. Gary V.
Right.
Gary V. Elon would be fun, mate. I think but Elon, I'd love to. I'd love Elon as a, but to be different from yourself. I think Gary V's outlook on happiness and life, and it's just so different to kind of anyone else that's out there, mate. That's in the public eye. And obviously, I'm extremely grateful. Paula's already my mentor, or my coach, so I can't say Paula. Yeah. But Paula Wingate's literally she's phenomenal, mate, and there's no doubt in my mind that as the thing goes on, the amount of life she's going to change, the influential minds is going to get to a level that going to be proud to be a part of it, mate. Not a shadow of a doubt, mate. So yeah, that's kind of got to be my 2-3 without a doubt.
You've made me start thinking about people and worth ethics and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Rocky.
Rocky. Mm.
How much determination can one have
Yeah.
to win and still keep going? It, I don't think there's more I can say about it. That's
Yeah.
the his just complete the whole outlook on life, and his goal was to win.
Yeah.
And did he stop? He never stopped. He just always wanted to get to that point where he won, and if he didn't win, he'd keep going.
Yeah.
So I'd say Rocky for my past.
That's nuts, mate. I actually don't expect you to say that, mate, at all. I think it's probably because I've not. It's not that I've not watched any of them. I've never been like a big movie guy, mate, to be fair. But in terms of, I watched them when I was younger, absolutely. I recently though I did watch like Creed, and obviously like Rocky plays a part in that, or whatever it may be. But like Creed was obviously a phenomenal movie. Probably something I need. I think it's like old movies. Just I don't know, mate. It's a weird one. I was having this conversation with my mum the other day because my granda used to watch every time I used to come in, mate, he'd have an old movie on, like an old western, for example, and I'd be like, why are you watching that? He's like, I love it, and I was like, this stuff just honks me out, man. Like the thought of like how the times were back then, I don't know what it is, mate. I think it's because everything I do, like even like looking at my setup now, mate, 2 PCs, 2 monitors are both connected up, technology's at the forefront, like I just love all this shit, mate. So the thought of going back to then where there was nothing, mate, it almost like freaks me out, I think, mate. Freaks me out a wee bit. It's a bit nuts, to be fair.
I think it'd be quite fun because we've got so accustomed to all of the things we have, like your PC, the internet, and back then you were at life with no internet. You didn't have, you could drop someone a text within point millisecond. It's at their phone and they can reply to you.
Yeah.
You go and phone someone. You do a phone box. You had to mail them stuff if you wanted to like speak to them. I think that's pretty cool. Because obviously, yes, I'm very grateful that I've grown up in this era with the fact that technology has played a massive part in everything we do now. But it's just something different. It would be a unique experience to go back and see how the world was, and we've come a long way. And I think it's quite interesting because I quite enjoy Star Wars. I know it's not that old, but the original ones, you see some of the FX they do. It's all that you think that's awful in today's FX, but it's still the one of the greatest film series of all time, basically. And yeah, I'd like to go back to an older time and just experience it for a while.
Yeah. When I think about the westerns, mate, it's like my granddad be sitting watching it, mate, and be like, 2 guys, the Wild West, the scene would cut, and it's like now that fucking little thing. I think it's like, what is it? It's like all the wee mini tree branches are like rolling together. It looks like
Tumbleweed.
That's it, mate. And it's like that's running by. The guy's like holding his like revolver pocket, and they're like getting ready to shoot each other. Then one wins, and my granddad's sitting there loving it, mate. And I was like, fucking hell, bro, what? Like, this is just, it's crazy how the times have evolved, mate. And I think when I watched. I think probably the series that I realised, because like all the TV series we watch, for example, like we forget that they're just like acting sometimes, but like not sometimes, they're acting all the time, but we forget sometimes that it's just acting, mate. Like see Suits, for example, like Harvey Specter, mate, I was like, that Donnie is like almost like inspirational, like to me when I was watching it. I think I watched Suits when I was like fucking 18, and I love Suits, mate. It was so funny to watch, mate. Or 19 I must have been. When I was watching it, it was like Harvey Specter and like all the characters in it, mate. I was like, they're fucking class, mate. I binged it in like 2 weeks, mate. I was obsessed with it, and I thought of doing that now. I genuinely don't have the time to do anything like that now, like whatsoever. And it's funny because I was having this conversation with, I think it was Ryan Yu, when I had a meeting with him. He was speaking about how he went out when things were going back, things were relatively normal. It wasn't too long ago. He went out and had a few drinks, and he was like hungover for like a couple of days after it. I couldn't afford to have fucking like 2 days hungover, bro. Or even a full day hungover. I'd be fucked, mate. There's no way. Nuts, absolutely nuts.
Uh,
So if I was to ask you, if you could wake up one morning, right, and you just completely adopted a brand new skill, but you're an expert at it, what would it be?
ooh.
I mean, I instantly off the top of my head, mate, I'm thinking, you'd be a bit better in the gaming side of things. I think it would be one of the one of the.
You knocking my game abilities now. It's a bit
Nah,
touchy.
mate, you seen me on Rainbow Six, bro. I'm not on it, mate. You give me a couple of weeks on Six Siege, mate, on Rainbow. I'd be alright. But
Rainbow's a lot different to most games, but
no.
the skill. These are some juicy questions, mate. You're making me think about these. Should have had some pre-planned so I could have some sort of thought in my head.
Do I know my answer?
Go on then.
I think it's got to be being bilingual, mate. Like just having a like if that's like, because like when I sit and speak about, like, one of the questions was that me and Scott and stuff used to ask each other was, what is, if you could adopt 3 skills right now, what and you are a master of them instantly, what would they be?
Yep.
And the answer on all of our top 3s was to be bilingual in terms of every single language, not every single language, but multiple languages at the one time. I think Scott's, funnily enough, this was when we were much younger, but Scott's was always, being a master of the stock market. I was always his, like, because it just, once you're a master in quotations, you're literally like, you're almost like untouchable in some nature. So I'm trying to think any other answers we used to have. I think, but I mean, I used to like the thought of like being able to like play the guitar and stuff like that, being a master of like an instrument. But I don't think that wouldn't really excite me now. I think, just pick up a guitar and just start bashing it a wee banger.
It's a weird one. Maybe it's not my most topical, but I'd like to be absolutely good at golf because I do enjoy it. I'm fucking awful. I am probably one of the worst golf players ever out there.
Yeah.
I went to the driving range with my mate. We used to go quite often, and he was like, "Oh, I'll take my clubs. We'll go." So, all right, no worries. So I always went with his clubs. I started getting into it more. I was like, "Oh well, I might as well buy my own set because I'm feared that I'm gonna break his set, and he's got an expensive driver." So I was like, "Right, I'll buy my own set." So I went on eBay. It was like 30 odd quid. Then I got a whole set of golf clubs. The only one I didn't have was a driver.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, we went down. The first time I was christening my new set. We're hitting balls. And he's like, right, take your 3-wood and just absolutely smash it. So I did. Well, the club head went further than my ball did down the driving range, and I broke my club. So I went 2 shots in, and I broke my club. And I can hit it, but I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
I can hit the ball, but I'm just pure guesswork of where the ball's actually going to land.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to be good at golf because it's quite good because once you get older and once it's stereotypical for the rich because you go have a business meeting on the golf course.
Yeah.
But I think with the people that I've met, I'd actually like to just go and learn about them whilst playing golf because it's not like a 5-minute exercise.
Yeah.
You're out there for a couple hours in the golf course on a nice peaceful morning. I just think that'd be class. Just to be able to actually hit the ball, know where it's going, but then still have a chat with the guys as you're going around and just enjoy life.
Yeah, no, that's a good take on it, mate. I think like that's what funny because in the subtle art of not giving a fuck, that's what Mark Manson speaks about in terms of like when as we get older, we focus on the things that like are true, immediate, and important, of course. And to a lot of males, it basically is like implying that everyone's golf swing is a true, immediate, and important, and a lot of people spend a lot of time obsessing over something like that, and because that matters to somebody. To the point where they get some fun and enjoyment out of it, then that does make it true, immediate, and important because they love what they're doing. I have the same conversation with Rory quite regularly because Rory loves golf, mate. He's got a golf coach and all that kind of stuff, and he loves it, mate. But for me, golf something that because Scott and Jamie go to the driving range and stuff every now and again, but it's probably not something that. And I know why, because when I was younger, mate, I got smacked in the mouth for a golf club when I went to play golf. And that's probably where my PTSD comes from. But for anyone, maybe a wee bit a trigger warning if you're a bit like blood and all that kind of freaks you out a wee bit, maybe mute for like a wee second. But I literally we used to go to, there used to be like this really like wide grass area. I wonder what it's like now, to be fair. I might actually go down and visit it, but it used to be near my house. You're talking like, even if it almost looked like a golf course, mate. The actual how wide the grassy like patch was, it was fucking huge. Maybe it's just because I was younger, it seemed bigger. But we used to go down there. These are a couple of the lads that were much older than me that I used to play football with. I think I was about 10 or 11 at the time. Now lads I used to play football and stuff with were like 14, 15, 16, so it became like almost like a craze for them to go down and play golf. So I was like, yeah, I'll come, blah blah blah. And he was like teaching me almost like how to play and like what to do and that kind of thing. And I'll never forget, mate, the guy was like, you better stand back. So I took a step back, and as I took a step back, he took a step back as well. So I was actually the same distance away from them. And he swung the golf club, mate, came right round, smacked me in the mouth, mate. My tooth went right through my lip. And I had to get taken to the hospital and get butterfly stitches and all that. I remember my brother, my older like half brother, was fucking raging, mate. He was trying to scrap this. He was trying to scrap the young guy that done it to me and all that. And I was like, he didn't mean it. Like, it was my fault. Like, I was too close to him, of course. Like, I obviously didn't mean it. And I had to go to fucking A&E and all that, man. It was all fucked. It was it's
no, that doesn't sound good at all.
That's probably why I don't like golf at it. That's probably why it doesn't excite me whenever people speak about it.
Could be
a factor.
A subconscious, in that fuck golf, mate. It wouldn't happen again.
I know. I think so, mate. So, in terms of like when we've been working together, mate, I think the reason why we've got along so well, we're both very logical in the terms of like how we look at solutions and so on and so forth. But I think we have a very common thought process in terms of like the question I was going to ask you is like, what would be your one tip to make the world a better place to someone that was watching just now?
Ooh. One tip.
I think I'm going to have to start prompting people, mate, before they come on the podcast.
Yeah, I might need a wee prompt in it if there's another session. I don't know. That's a very thought-provoking one.
It's like that question I asked when we were on one of the Y.E.N networking sessions, when I asked about if you could put anything on a 300 feet wide billboard and have it in the middle of what is it, Central Square, whatever it is, what would it be? And it can't be your business is the only rule. So that's kind of the same, because you're looking to send a message to everyone, almost like. And I think it was funny because Rory texted me after it and he was like, do you want to know my answer? And I was like, aye, go for it. And I think it was something along the lines of like, people's lives aren't what they seem to be. Something about being kind, or along those lines. He was basically implying that social media paints, obviously, everyone puts up like the best parts of life, not the worst parts, of course. So for me, my answer was always just be kind, mate. Always. I feel like
absolutely, yeah. I was gonna say, don't prejudge.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that I'm quite judgmental in my mind. Like, I don't express it a lot, but I'm like me and my dad, we judge someone before we meet them, but we never say it to them. We never, obviously we've got something in our minds and we think, right, well, this person's like this or this person's like that, but we never actually express it out loud because, you never know till you speak to someone. And the amount of people we've misjudged that we've met through property, we thought, oh, this guy's up his own arse, or, what's this guy doing? And you actually learn about them. It's makes you sit back and go, what the fuck have you thought about that for, mate? Why are you being such an arse? Just take a seat back and, just respect people, because you never know what someone's been through, what someone's going through, until you speak to them and see why they've done the certain things they've done.
Yeah.
So I think prejudging ruins a lot of people, and just gives that negative vibe around meeting new people for some people. It's I think it's if there were no one prejudged, everyone was just open minded, things would progress a lot better and people would just get on with each other easier.
Yeah, it would be a much better place, isn't it? I think in terms of probably something I don't do anymore is prejudge, just because It's one of the main reasons I started Y.E.N was because when I was much younger and I was at these networking meetings, it was almost like in my own head. I believe people were prejudging me, but then the way in which people were speaking to me kind of did seem like they were just kind of speaking down to me and just assuming that I had nothing to bring to the table. They were just assuming that I had nothing important to say because I didn't have the experience or I didn't make anything happen or whatever it may be. But for me, it was it's probably why I don't do it anymore, mate. Or because when you're growing up, it's obviously like school's the worst for it, mate. People are fucking the popularity contest. People are bitching every day. People are arguing every day. It's because you're in an environment that's you're forced to mingle with people that aren't your kind of people, that aren't like you. And everyone's completely different. But in terms of how we're brought up, it's probably something that as you get older, like most of the time your friends become a lesser number than what they already were. And as soon as I left school, mate, it was pretty much me, Scott and Jamie would go out pretty much regularly. I had close mates that were maybe outside of that three, like Jack and Reese and stuff like that I spent time with, that they just weren't in my close-knit circle as such, but they were good friends of mine, people that I could trust. But I think that's something that probably just comes with the territory of school, mate. I mean, our school, I think we had 250 odd people in our year, so it was probably like quite a lot of people that you're forced to interact with that maybe isn't your kind of person. In your environment, mate, is one of the main reasons I built Y.E.N, mate. Is because I believe so much in our environment and how our environment can play such a big part in our future and what we can obtain. So yeah, mate, it's a very good tip, mate. Prejudging, fuck it, sack it, get it to fuck.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely, mate. So in terms of, if I was to look down the list, this one's probably quite funny to be fair. What is the stupidest thing you've ever spent your money on?
A Swagway.
A Swagway? What is a Swagway again? Is that thing?
So you know the Segways with handles?
Yeah.
This is one without the handle.
Oh.
A hoverboard. Is the other name for them.
Right.
I bought myself one of them with the money I earned from a whole summer at the farm.
Yeah.
I went, you know what? I want one of them. and I bought it. It was about 350 quid.
Oh,
and I used it near that often, and I sold it a couple of years later. But yeah, I bought a Swagway. I loved it. It was great fun. My dad tried it and fucked his arm for about 3 months, so that didn't go well. But no, I loved it. I got pretty good on it, but it was pretty stupid to buy. There was 350 quid or something like that, and it was just like I got about 5 minutes enjoyment with it before I got bored of it. So.
I feel like how quick you answered that, mate. That was almost like that had been playing in your mind for years, mate, and that question just pure brought it back. Because whenever I asked Dwayne,
I've not really thought about it before, but it's a stupid purchase because everything else I've bought I use more than once, or I use more often than that. You know, yes, I've spent some money on my Lego behind me, but I do enjoy my Lego. You know, I like the sets, I like building it. It's regular. I opened the box, I used it a couple of times, and it's kind of sat on charge for the rest of his life.
It's proper fucking lazy as well, the Swagways, mate. I think that was my first thought. I thought, fucking hell, bro, you're not getting any steps in, mate. You're hovering about everywhere, mate. You're not doing anything, mate.
But it was, you know, the core. You had to have some strength to keep yourself there, because if you didn't focus on you obviously go forward, backwards, but if you didn't focus on what you're doing, you're off the thing, or you're spinning in circles.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy it, but it was a stupid purchase. Like,
I've actually never heard that. Was too much of a genuine answer, mate. Most of the answers that I've seen from this sort of question, I think Dwayne was speaking about designer clothes. I can't remember if I asked Andrew it, mate, to be fair, but whenever I asked anyone it, or any of the podcasts that I watched previously of anyone asking it, it was mainly just like, you know, things like cars, designer clothes. In America it was like bottle service, so that kind of patter. But Segway, that was too much. That was too honest, mate, almost. That was like came straight for the soul. If you were to think about what was kind of similar to all the question about in regards to the mentors, but who's had the greatest influence on you so far in your life?
Got to be my dad.
Yeah, I thought so.
Got to be.
How come though? How's he impacted you?
Because, well, he's always been quite strict with things, in terms of me spending my money on things. And obviously, I bought my Swagway and that. But before that, when I was younger, I got pocket money. I did chores around the house. I cut the grass. And it got to the point where I was just, went to the shop each week and spent my 2 or 3 quid on a shitty comic and a little toy or something, and it was ruined. And he started implementing that I took half of it and I saved it each week.
Yeah.
So I came to the end of a couple of months, or my birthday came up, and I added that into the bank that he kept for me. I had maybe 50, 60, 100 quid that I could go buy something bigger and better that I would use, and I have more enjoyment and actually have more than 5 minutes worth of using it for.
Yeah.
And it's just that he kind of rolled that mindset into me.
Mm.
And from a young age, it always got to that point that I would always save half, or save all of it some weeks, because I thought, well, what's the point of getting a comic this week? I've still got the one from last week or whatever. And he's just always ingrained that in me, and it's kind of changed, shaped my money mindset a lot.
Yep.
Because when I got to the point when I was working on the farm, and my parents have helped me a lot when they buy my clothes, etc. When I was younger, but I got to the point where I wanted, bigger things. I wanted football boots that cost 100 quid or something. They were like, well, we're not paying for that.
Yep.
You're going to earn that, and if you want to pay for things, you've got to go and get a job. So simple as, we're not spoon feeding you for the rest of your life. So my mom always thought it was quite harsh. She was like, no, you can't do that to him. He's our only son. My dad was like that. He needs to learn. So,
Yep.
and I'm very thankful for that, because it has made me think about money and think about things I'm buying. And I was obviously worked at the farm. I worked there for 5 or 6 summers. I earned some really good money, and I'd saved a lot of it, because I was able, by the time I was 17, I was able to buy my car insurance, lessons, and put money down towards my car.
Yep.
And I never thought that was possible.
Yep.
Before, I thought, well, I'm not going to get all this money I need for my car, my lessons, and all that. But because the mindset of keeping the money and saving it, and I actually enjoyed watching my savings account grow,
Yep.
which was probably the best thing. And once it hit over that grand, I got the comma in my bank account. I was just like, oh, I'm balling, mate. I'm absolutely balling now. I've got a comma in my bank account. Like, I've made it.
Yep.
And then obviously I had to give it all away to the insurance company and the lessons, etc. But I was like, I've got a comma in my bank account. This is class.
Yep.
So it's just that mindset of seeing it grow, seeing it happen. And he's taken me in the profit business. The only reason we're where we are today, in terms of the training that we did, he dragged me effectively to Edinburgh last March to go to a property seminar. It was a 2-day event to just learn about property, and he just wanted me to hear from someone else about property, because obviously we get on so well, but it is, dad says this, dad says that. Why the hell's dad saying
Yep.
that? Oh, piss off! I'm not going to listen to you today.
Yep.
And there is still some of that. We do get on, we do bicker and stuff. We do tell each other fuck off, but we get on. 5 minutes later, we're fine. So that's just life, and it's
Yeah.
just the relationship we have. But he wanted me to learn from someone else. We went down. I think it started about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, I was sitting there going, "Holy shit!" The it is. I don't know. It was just something. I think it was just someone different staying and speaking.
Yep.
To the room, rather than dad just telling me, we're doing this because. And yes, he always explained it, but it was just that different. I don't know. It was just something different in the room. And then by 5 o'clock, I'm saying, right, well, he now uses my catchphrase, "We can't afford not to,"
Yep.
and we couldn't actually afford to pay for the training at that point. We
Yep.
genuinely didn't have enough money sitting on anything that we could use to pay for the training, because it wasn't cheap.
Yep.
And we're open about the fact that I had to ask my grandparents for money, because they always said they would give me help in what I wanted to do in business and
Yep.
etc. And I've been very, very thankful. I paid the money all back. We paid it all back within a few months, because we knew that the training would get us to the point where we could make the money,
Yep.
but we just didn't have it sitting.
Yep.
And it's been one of the best investments I've ever made. It has honestly changed, my network. For starting, your network is your net worth.
Yep.
And holy shit, the network's gone mad.
Mm.
The people we've met, the mentors we have are just phenomenal, and the business strategies we've been able to learn have just been just out of the world.
Yep.
And I'm helping people at 20 get their own houses
Yeah.
while still making money. It's yeah. It's got to be my dad for the most for that
Yeah.
question. He's just helped me through everything and just been the most influential person on me.
Yeah. I love that, mate. I love that. And I think like when it comes to how we not necessarily how we come across, but I think how we operate on a day-to-day basis is reflective of obviously who we spend the most time with. And for me, for example, like my mum's been the person I've spent probably the most time with over the last X amount of years, and probably just seeing her grow as well, mate, and the person that she's became today fills me with a level of fulfillment as well. And I think that I see a lot of that probably in your relationship with your dad, to be fair, mate. And Alex, some boy, that's for sure, mate. Alex is some boy. But it kind of got me thinking though, because a lot of people watching this, like as a property investor, would you like to explain to them what you actually do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go to view houses that are basically shit tips, as we call them, the ones you'd like to wipe your feet on the way out of viewing,
Yeah.
because that's where you make the most money, because you 99% of the time you make your money when you buy. So you want to buy really below market. You want to buy, as low as you can, because that's when you spend the refurb money on it, you value up, and it's now worth a heap more money than it ever was going to be if you bought it at a higher price. So
Yeah.
it's that's basically what we do, is we buy houses like that, we do them up, and we rent them out. We had five rented. We'd five before I joined joined the mastermind program we signed on to last March.
Yeah.
And we'd only just done rentals. We'd flipped two properties, so flipping means selling them. So we bought them to spend more money than a normal buy to let, because we spec it to be a really high, nicely presented property. Not that our properties aren't nice. This is above and beyond. This
Yeah.
one had oak skirtings. It had a 10K kitchen. It had just everything. The wow factor. You wanted to walk in and go, buy me this house. I want
Yeah.
this house. This is where I want to stay. So there's nothing needs done. And just walk in and move in. So we've done that, and then since the training, we completed 13 deals in 13 months, where it was rent to buy, where we help people buy their own house effectively.
Yeah.
So, like a standard rental, they pay extra per month on top, which goes in a savings pot that we hold for them, which becomes over the term their 10% deposit to buy that house in 7 to 10 years. And we've completed 13 of them in 13 months. And that's kind of what we're doing at the moment. We're looking for more commercial stuff
Mm-hmm.
and just stuff we're busy. Yeah.
That's nuts, mate. I think that whole rent to buy aspect and like taking the extra on top and putting that in a saving pot for them and so on and so forth. I think that's something that probably 99% of people listening to this wouldn't even knew that existed, mate, or that was a thing. And you're basically allowing people to buy their dream house without, you know, having the actual funds there to pay the deposit or whatever it may be, mate. But if you could sum up in 60 seconds, I know the property that we done on the property workshop, for example, the flip that you done that made you the most money, the in and out flip that you spoke about. If you could sum that up in 60 seconds, what happened with that property and how you've made so much money?
Right. Yeah. It was fun enough. It was the house right next door to my grandparents, and the couple had lived there for I don't know how many years. The property hadn't been renovated since about 1950, so everything was dated. We ripped the whole house apart. We remodeled the living room and the dining room, so it was just like one door effectively between the two of them. We moved that to sliding glass doors to open up, made the whole open plan, but you can shut it at the same time.
Yeah.
We ripped the garden apart. We put new grass down everywhere. We put a brand new fence up. It got, you know, chrome towel rails that weren't normal ones. They were quite different, just not
Yeah.
a standard kind of horizontal. They were fancy ones. We had a fancy kitchen. It was a Neff appliance kitchen, which is probably one of the best brands you can buy appliances. So I think there was about 3 or 4K just worth of appliances in that kitchen. The whole kitchen was about 10 or 11 grand.
Yep.
We fitted brand new windows and doors throughout, inside and outside. So we had, I think it was 9 or 10 exterior windows and 3 doors. We renovated the garage, new garage door, oak skirtings and facings, and that cost a lot of money, but
Yep.
it gave it the extra wow factor. We got that staged as well at the end to show people what it was like. So you walked in, it was almost like a show home. There was furniture everywhere. The table was set. You could see what your living room was going to be like with some sofas and TV in it. Your bedroom had a bed in it, and it just made that whole experience much better for a viewer, that they had the whole package rather than you walk into a blank canvas. And a lot of people can't visualize what their furniture would look like or
Yep.
how they could plan the room out. So to get it staged, we spent a couple grand on that, but it was well worth it because we actually got it sold 3 times within the same month, but the first 2 fell through, and finally we got the last one sold, and it was completed.
Love that, mate. Love that. It's a bit longer than 60 seconds, mate, but it fucking
That's a bit of a,
it definitely works, mate. And I think in general, like when I sit and I speak to you about this kind of stuff, mate, it inspires me. And when I wanted you to take that property workshop, for anyone listening, Blair took a property workshop about 2 months ago now, and basically gave us it's kind of the beginnings of like kind of like a beginner style property workshop to give you an understanding of assets and liabilities, and what in terms of, we were speaking a lot about money, and in terms of like what is classed as good debt and bad debt, and it was stuff that I learned about when I was studying accountancy, mate, and it was your takes on a lot of them were phenomenal, and it was very different to even my takes with me studying accountancy. You still had very different takes on me, because everything in terms of money or lending and good debt in your eyes is the lowest cost, and the lowest cost of lending is what your class is a good debt. So for example, when I said to you, what about a student loan, you said to me that was a good debt, and I was blown away by that, because I was like, fucking hell, so much student loan debt, people definitely don't use that in a good way, so how is it a good debt? And I don't understand that. So I know for a lot of people listening, they're probably sitting there thinking the exact same, so would you like to explain to them how it's a good debt?
Quickly go to the toilet if that's alright.
Yeah.
Cut this bag off. Yeah, you can toilet that.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fine, mate. No stress. No stress at all.
Perfect. Good.
I want to grab some water, Scott. You can cut this out as well.
Can you hear me?
You're good?
Yep. Sorry about
Do you want to piss yourself?
that. It was close.
It's cushy, mate. I'll get what I'll do is I'll let Scott kinda cut it, like we'll cut it in and out of those 2 minutes, so
Yeah.
I'll just tell everyone that you had a phone call you had to take or some shit. So I'll cut back in it just now.
Okay.
So for anyone that's watching at the moment, you're probably curious to why it just cut out, and then we came back in and we're just, it's a different, like, a different framing what's happening. Blair had to take a quick phone call, so he had to dip away for 2 minutes. But the point in which we ended on, or at least it was kind of what we were speaking about at that time, was basically about student loan debt. and how it's a good debt and not a bad debt. And for a lot of people listening to this, a lot of students will be listening to this thinking like, well, I'm in debt like 40 odd grand or whatever because I've been to uni for X amount of years and so on and so forth, and now I need to pay it back. How and what way is it good debt?
Is, I think, undoubtedly the cheapest borrowing you can get. The interest rate on that is, I think, between 1% and 2%. It is, that's better than a personal mortgage.
Yep.
And the fact that a lot of people don't understand that, they think, oh, great, I'm getting money, I'm going to go to the pub with my money, or I can, get some shoes with the money. And the only person I know that's used that to good use is Andrew.
Yep.
And he's told me he's put money towards his help to buy mortgage. He's put that into his pot for his mortgage pot. He's also put some into stocks that will go up,
Yep.
and has put that into investments that will go up. So he's taken the money. Yes, he's still got to pay it back, but you only have to pay it back once you hit a certain threshold of earnings, and that's a few years down the line, because not all people will hit that threshold within the first 5 to 10 years after leaving uni, depending on what industry they go into. So,
Yep.
but if you can structure it in a way that you don't really have to pay it back, if you can be efficient in how you declare your earnings through different strategies and companies. And obviously I don't have any student loans, but if I was, I would have taken a student loan and put a deposit for a mortgage and let it give me a cash flow
Yep.
and effectively pay off the what I'm getting per month, and I'm sitting with profit. And
Yep.
it's probably one of the coolest things you can do with a student loan, because a lot of people I know, they just go to the pub
Yep.
and they just waste their money and they go, oh, I'm in debt. Like you said, a lot of people going, oh, I'm in debt. Well, don't fucking waste it. Be smart with it.
People just use it to
Don't
live
just
off in
think,
it.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you don't have a job and that is your earnings, it's obviously a lot harder to get into the frame of mindset that you need to use it for your better use. But if you have a part-time job where that's giving you that income you need, and your student loan is purely just to have extra on top that you can actually live without, why not invest it and make it work
Yeah.
better for you rather than you working for it?
I think the thought process behind it, probably for a lot of students that do spend it, is that they're almost, even though they're getting education, they're almost like working for it. So they almost treat it like they're getting paid a wage to be an education. And obviously, the way in which people look at things, it's obviously the way in which our parents thought about money and their attitude towards money, which then led us to where we were at that time. And I know for a fact that when I got my student loan, for example, when I was studying accountancy, like, my mum didn't know. Mum probably only found out when you done that property workshop, like, about the because it was such low interest borrowing, that it was phenomenal in a way, and that was probably what changed her mindset. So it's the kind of way, it's like you can't change what you don't know, and if you don't know any better, then there's not much you can do about it apart from go out and seek the information. But if you don't even know that information's out there either, it's the kind of trap that we're all in. It's the kind of, we do live in the information era though. There's an abundance of information, an abundance of access to millionaires, billionaires. Gary Vee posts 37 pieces of content every single day. If you want to go and you want to study someone that's successful, the guy's posting more than enough to learn his tendencies and what he does on a regular basis, and so on and so forth, man. So it's the kind of, we're getting to that stage where I don't want to say there's no excuse for it, to not be taking control of your life in a way. It's more, there's an abundance of access, and I know you can feel like you're trapped, and you can feel like you have no choice. And when I'm going into these universities and I'm going to be speaking at them, what I'm going to be tapping into is the fact that everyone believes their age is an obstacle when it comes to starting a business or going into investments or whatever it may be. They always believe that their age is an obstacle. If they're too young, they believe they've not got enough experience. If they're middle-aged, they believe that, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, so I can't, or I've got kids, or whatever it may be, I can't take the risk of starting my own business, having no income. And then you get a bit older, and I look at, for example, my mum when she started her business when she was 47. people at 47 will believe, you know, I'm going to be retiring in like 10 to 15 years. Why would I want to start my own business?
Yeah.
And it's the everyone believes their age is an obstacle because they're conditioned to believe that their age is an obstacle. They're conditioned to believe that business is high risk, that the percentage of businesses that thrive and do well is very little. When in fact the numbers are actually increasing nowadays. Much far better chance of surviving and thriving nowadays in business. And I think it's all kind of thanks to the information era and the internet and so on and so forth. There's so many opportunities out there, man. So many opportunities, mate. Absolutely bonkers, man. It's just about turning that opportunist.
It's just about wanting to better yourself, because, you know, saying, oh, I want to be rich, on I want to have a Lamborghini, or I want to have the newest phone, or whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's never going to get you anywhere, you know, wanting something like that, you know. It's back to just everything. It's what's your why, you know, why are you doing it? And for a lot of people, you know, in middle age, like you're saying, you know, it's for their kids. You know, a lot of them are doing it for their kids. And if you're younger, you think, well, I don't have kids, you know, why am I doing this?
Yep.
And for me, it's freedom. I want
Yeah.
that freedom of choice that I would have never have got as a joiner, or if I stuck to the school's way of thinking, you know, you've got to go to uni, you've got to get a job, you've got to stay in that job, you've got to pay off your mortgage. Paying off your mortgage is the fucking worst thing you can do. Don't do that. You know, that is one of the worst things, because you're putting money in the hole that you're never getting back. Why not use the money somewhere else? But that's another.
Do I explain that a little bit more? But you can explain it in a few minutes. Because that's probably just looking at the time.
I could do, yes. So, well, you know, what we do for, you know, what we have is we have mortgage debt, where we rent the property out, we get cash flow effectively, because you rent it out for £500 a month. Your mortgage, let's say, costs £100, so you're left with £400. But you obviously got other little things to come off. So let's say your cash flowing at £300, so that's £300 we're getting per month.
Yeah.
And we're still servicing the mortgage. We're paying the mortgage, and that what gives us money. So when you've got your own personal mortgage, it's slightly different, because you're not getting anything to service that. Your wage is servicing that.
Yeah.
But paying extra to pay it down is bad, because you're throwing all the money into the house that you're tying up. You've not lost it, but you're tying up. So when you come to sell it, you know, you'll get the money back, but it's the fact that it's sit there doing nothing for you, and it's trapped. You know, you can't use that money and go, right, well, if I save all the money that I'd be paying extra into my mortgage to pay it down, I can go and put a mortgage down to buy a house that I can rent out, which will service that mortgage and effectively service my own mortgage.
Yep.
So it's using just don't pay it off. It's only once you get to the point where you've got enough cash flow, etc., and you have a couple properties throughout your portfolio that have got no borrowing on, like no mortgage, which you can use for quick lending. You know, so if you need to, you can go and throw a mortgage on it for half the value, or you can bridge from that property to this property and use the capital sitting there. But until such time, just stop paying your mortgage off, because that's what they are. You know, everyone says, "Oh, pay off your mortgage." It's fucking shit. I hate people that tell you pay off your mortgage. It infuriates me.
I think the thing that helped me understand it was like if I gave you $100,000, for example, and I was like, you know, buy me a property, for example, buy me a property, pay it outright. Then when I have that property, you know, it's generating my cash flow and so on and so forth. And you're all like, you turned around to me and said to me, why the fuck would you buy a $100,000 property when you could and pay it all off when you could just you could put 4 deposits on 4 different properties that are all generating you cash flow to then pay the mortgage off, which then by the end of all the mortgages you're sitting with 4 assets that are generating you cash. Was the way in which you made me look at it.
So instead of making your £300 cash flow from your £100,000, you're making £1,200.
Yep. And at that time, because the mortgage is so low, it's getting paid off and you're getting money on top of it. Yeah. It's nuts.
Yep.
It's nuts, mate. Honestly, bro, the world is just full of opportunities, mate. Full of opportunities. It's bonkers, mate.
Absolutely.
It's it's been a belter though, mate. I think we're sitting about an hour and 20 minutes, and we probably had maybe like a few minutes of break in there. So that sounds to me like a juicy podcast, mate. So for everyone that's listening, what is next for Blair Collie? what's going to be happening in the future?
What's happening in the future?
Yeah.
We have a project at the moment which we bought a couple months ago that hasn't been refurbed. It's way to get refurbed and sold. We're in the process. My dad's actually on a call with our private investigator we've got to find out and track down the owners of a property. I know who owns it because I've got the title deeds for that property, but I can't access any of their information. I can't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
So we have paid a private investigator to go and
That
track
would
down these
sound
people.
bonkers.
So it sounds pretty crazy, but if you think about it, it's a strategy that we never thought of that is amazing
Yeah.
because we pay him a small, in our eyes, a small fee
Mhm.
to do so much legwork, so much digging. He's got access to police systems. He's got access to, you know, databases and places we can't get to do
Yeah.
public domain. And he's got friends that if he can't access it, he can get his friends to go and look for him. And it is really, really cool. And the fact is, if we'd known about this earlier, we could have had a lot more properties bought because we chased for so long and got to a dead end.
Yep.
But with this guy now, we've set him on the case. He's given us an update, but my dad's on the call at the moment. So hopefully, by the time I go and speak to him later on, that we've got somewhere and we can go and put an offer in and hopefully at the house.
Yep.
He's also going to try and hopefully get us some money back from properties that people stopped paying the rent on and just didn't give us any money. So there's a way, he can chase for the money, which would be good.
Yep.
We're potentially, well, we're investing with our one of our mentors. We're putting money into the development site, so there'll be a property refurbed and two new builds built, and we're helping him with that. And we're going to be at the forefront of that. Obviously, I spoke about the big development,
Yep.
business opportunity early in the podcast. That's happening. Hopefully,
Yep.
fingers crossed, we can strike a deal with that. And the figures are stupid. It's ridiculous return on our investment, and it'll be our foot in the door because we can know so much about the industry, but it's the people that get you into it. And I use this phrase a lot. It's not what you know; it's who you know.
Yep.
And without that knowledge of people, you don't really get anywhere. So this guy will hopefully be our foot in the door and get us into this part of the out with property. So, like you said, I don't have any other out with property. This is out with property completely.
Yep.
But other than that, we want to buy a lot in Crieff and Perthshire. We're looking towards. We have a few properties we're eyeing up that we need to go and get Doug, our private investigator, to go and have a look at
Yep.
and see if we can track down any the owners, etc. And just buy more property because we just love doing it and it makes us money.
100% wrong. And I think probably an area that I thought we were going to touch on today, but we've just not had the time to, is, and we'll lead this into the next episode of the podcast when the time comes and we record a second one, if people want it, and is that you want to be retired by the time you're 25. You're 20 at the moment, so
Yeah.
With all the tasks and stuff that you've got planned at the moment, are you on track to meet that target?
Yeah, absolutely. With this new business venture that's come about, that could be shortened
Yeah.
even more, because I'd set myself a goal of 30 about last June, and one of my mentors said, "Well, that's unachievable." I looked at him kind of confused, and he said, "Because you'll hit it way before then."
Yeah.
So when you say you're tired, I mean in my sense, I mean time and financially free. So I've set myself a goal of how much I want per month to cash flow,
Yeah.
and that will give me the flexibility that if I want to go and spend the month abroad, you know, doing whatever I want, I would like. There's a lot of things on my vision board, like skydiving in Dubai. I want to go to the Maldives, and with the being retired, I'll be able to do that, and I'll be able
Yeah.
to live life how I want to. So work now and benefit later on because I've seen a lot of my mates that go to uni that are living their life, as they say, going out most weekends, having parties, doing whatever they do, but they're going to be in a dead end job. That's where I see it.
Yeah.
And they'll get to 40 and go, "Oh, I don't really want to go traveling, or I can't afford to go traveling because I've tied up myself in all this debt and I've wasted all my younger years." And I'm thinking, well, why not use my younger years to my advantage and live how I
set
want
up your
to.
future. Bang on,
Exactly.
mate.
So
Bang on.
that is the big goal. That is the massive goal of my life. But I know it can happen, and no one can tell me it can't. So
Fucking love that, mate. What a fucking good note to end it on, mate. Thank you all for listening. If you haven't liked, comment, subscribed, I don't know what you're doing, to be fair. And this is going to be going live on Spotify as well. Moving forward, Spotify applications went through. We just need to upload the episodes to there. So this will be one of the episodes that will be going up on there as well. So if you're listening there, I do appreciate it. And we'll catch you on the next episode, guys.
thank you very much for listening, and thank you for the opportunity to come on here, John.
Love that, Blair, mate. Love that. Catch you on in a bit, guys.